Greetings, Poe fans. Welcome to another edition of Poe Unplugged. I am Carmen Bolden.
And I am Jeanie Smith, and we are
The Potastic Two.
Come zoom with us into the Unbook Club dedicated to the works of Mr. Edgar Allan Poe.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Poe Unplugged. We're so happy you guys are here, and hopefully everybody has had time to either read for the first time or reread Never Bet the Devil Your Head. So I'm anxious to hear about everyone's thoughts on this particular Poe tale. So does anybody want to start?
I guess I will, because I just want to get it out there. I absolutely love this story. I think it's pure gold. I feel like every word he says, I'm smiling. It's just my sense of humor. And I just think like the writing in it is just so fluid. It's a lot of fun. I mean, he doesn't like the devil, and they're thrown in there in a fun way. So I just love it.
I think he did put a lot of his personality and opinions in the story.
Yes. Absolutely.
It was definitely a Poe opinionated point.
Yeah. I was trying to think.
Too many P's.
Yeah, a poniated. I was trying to put Poe in poniated. It was okay. That was not as good of a word as like apropos. But anyway, yeah, he definitely this was definitely a knock. I was gonna say Will beat me to it, really sticking it to the transcendentalist or frog pondians. Yes, absolutely. Every bit of this. Yeah, tongue in cheek and just his hatred of the transcendentalists, definitely.
Which is kind of strange. Because if you look at the actual definition of the noun of a transcendentalist, it's the people that, eschew government, conformity, want to get away from it all, looking for that higher existence in that point of view, which in some things you can read Poe and see that he has the same ideas. He's not really a big, he's not big on religion, doesn't like organized religion. But he also, it's like most of his works, in my opinion, he's looking at things from the opposite point of view, and it's not really conformity, in my opinion, with his writing. So
you raised an important question. So, like, for me, like, I always feel like, obviously, Edgar Allan Poe is really spiritual, but I never really took away from him that he's, like, anti-organized religion. I mean, I know you guys are the experts, so, I mean, if you don't mind giving me some examples, because I guess when I read his things, like, I know he's very much, like, heaven or hell. He's kind of, like, I mean, he draws from both. He draws from the idea of, like, the Christianity version of heaven and stuff. Yeah, but I guess I just always assumed that I guess like that makes you religious in a way, because I mean, me and myself, I'm more spiritual than I would say I'm religious, but I don't know, I'd be interested to get some more on that.
Well, when I use the terminology of organized religion, I'm talking about the structured area of church, having to show up on Monday, Sunday, mass on Wednesday nights, and having it very structured and organized to where you have to fit in this cookie cutter, in my opinion. Now, you also have to remember, I grew up Holy Roller Southern Baptist. So my idea of organized religion, there is no room for doubt. There's no room for bringing any other religion into play. You're not allowed to talk about any other religions because they are not out there. Even if you're in the Christian umbrella, because all the Protestants, all the Catholics, they're all under the Christian faith, but they will not recognize each other because Catholics are Catholics, and Baptists are Baptists, and Protestants are, and Lutheran and all that. So they each have their own strict organization of how things should be. So
it totally makes sense then. Yeah. Okay. I understand that, because I was thinking like,
so when I look at Poe, it's not that I don't think he believes in spirituality or religion as a whole. I just think that because he brings in so many different, because he's bringing in polytheistic types of religions, instead of the all seeing monotheistic with the, omnipotent of one God and one, he talks about all different faiths. So that's where I get it to where he, in my opinion, in his writing, he's not one of those that he only recognizes one religion as being above all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So,
I guess I was definitely thinking because I went to like Catholic high school. I'm not Catholic, but I guess yeah, I just kind of felt like I'm so drilled into my head that like you know what I mean. Like if you believe in God, you believe in like a structure. Like oh, then you know what I mean. Not like literally the actions of like going to mass or confession or any of those things.
Yeah.
Right. But then well, this also goes back to in my raisings as a Baptist. It's not that it was wholly bad, not WHOL, not HOLY. Uh, it was just that you weren't accepted as being a Christian unless you followed by going to church religiously on Sundays or going on Friday nights or going to Bible school or following this set thing. You weren't seen a Christian just because, hey, if you missed 1 week of church, then, you need to be rebaptized because you all of a sudden the devil has taken over and you're, yeah.
You have
So,
backslid.
Yes.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
Fire and brimstone. Yes.
yes, that's why it needs to be understood that organized religion, that's what I mean when I use the term organized, because if you think of organizations like corporate America, that type of thing, they all have very strict understandings. Like the Mormons, I don't have a problem with the Mormons. Mormons want to be Mormons, let Mormons be Mormons. If they want to say that a chameleon, I think it's a chameleon, is it a golden salamander?
Yeah.
Golden
Anyway,
salamander.
yes. Yes.
Yeah, golden salamander is the one that brought them their religious text. Okay.
Yeah.
That's no different than a burning bush,
Right.
or but it just seems that, Poe to me is one of those that he's a writer, he's a poet, but he very much, whether he likes it or don't, whether he likes you or don't like you, he's still going to recognize a part of who you are and what you believe in. Like a transcendentalist, he may not believe in what you do or anything, and he's going to tell you, and he's probably going to make fun and poke fun at you in satire. That's probably why part's the reason he's not being, liked most of the time.
Very
because
true.
Emerson, you have Emerson, and then you had, was it Longfellow, and who was the one? Yeah,
Thoreau.
yeah. You had all of these that at that time were, were big, popular, just like Byron and all the rest of them. But they were locking themselves up like they were the new age survivalists of today.
Yeah.
And going, see ya.
Well, and they had more, they had more of that, spiritual thought process rather than looking at science for proving. It was more faith rather than scientific proof, I guess you could say. And so I think part of that's just my opinion, that Poe, because of how strong he was with his own science that he wrote, that I think that's why his kind of hatred of the transcendentalists kind of popped up. And I know that he did scathing reviews of almost all the transcendentalists, and that's why they didn't like him for the most part. And that's why I think that's part of the rift of him and the Boston connection, even though he was born there.
Yeah.
But I guess the real problem that I have is that, yes, transcendentalists, there's all different kinds of ways that you can talk about it, but they just believed in something more than, the five senses. They believed in an extra, and that's why when I think of Poe and I'm going, well, yeah, you would think somebody who likes to, locks people up in walls and, put hearts under planks, and because he very much, even though he doesn't come out, but he does talk about how he believes in a higher power. He does talk about God. He talks about the devil. He talks about, so I guess that's what really threw me in this story, is that yes, he was like poking, but I don't know if he was poking fun at the whole or if he was just poking fun at the people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The
to your
actual
point,
Jeanie.
Yeah, to your point, you're right. Like, I totally agree with the sense of like, because I think it was in the article he wrote about what makes a poem a good poem, and he talks about Lord Byron. He talks about all the things that poetry should be, like drawing from nature. I know he gives like a quote where it was actually, I think it has something to do with trees or like sorrow or something like that connection with the transcendentalist. Actually, it was about like connecting with things around you to understand like your purpose in life. So yeah, to that point, Jeanie, absolutely, he did share a lot of those same values for sure.
Yeah. So and that's the thing that I feel that in this story especially, it's a love-hate relationship that and and what really gets me is the very beginning when we're talking about damn it. By the way, I love these names,
Yes.
Love
Very
the
clever.
Like,
damn it.
Yeah, damn it. But what's so funny is he makes out a hum as being the curse word of everything.
Yes.
But damn it's not the curse word. But I mean, in the very beginning where he's got like damn it was flirting at 3 months old? He was flirting with all the female babies, and then he was gambling at 6 months or I'm thinking, dang.
And
this baby gets around. Okay.
What I really like too, with going back to the very beginning with describing Toby, damn it, whatever you want to refer to him as, that he was flogged by his mother, and it was done wrong because she was left-handed, which is devilish. And so, because of that time of the superstitions of left-handed people, and it's like, not that he was flogged as a baby, it was, no, he was flogged wrongly with the left hand. I thought that was really really funny.
And right. Well, I love it. Punk rock. Yeah, let's go to the punk rock era.
Yes. Will says inventing the name Toby Dammit was as if Poe had astral projected to the punk. Yes, love that.
Yep. Well, and as I was telling Carmen also, in some ways you could say that he was throwing shade back at Boston because of Southpaw. Because Southpaws left-handers, that's what they call them.
He probably was.
Exactly. So, but yeah, what was the other name? It wasn't just Toby, damn it. There was another one. Oh, Mr. Lord. He referred to the devil as Mr. Lord.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I guess we could call him the devil, or he's the gatekeeper, or because he was the dude on the bridge.
Yeah.
But kept cussing by saying, Okay. Boy, if that were the truth, I'd gotten in trouble all the time in class.
Yeah. What did you guys think of, like, and Poe is kind of famous for this, sometimes taking forever to get to the point. Like at the very beginning, he goes on and on about, a tale should be told with a moral. And the narrator even refers himself to La Fontaine, who wrote animal fables. And so, and some of the research I did was that some of the critics of Poe were saying that he didn't write tales with morals, and so this was kind of overreaching and over, like, hyperextended almost in his writing to prove, yes, I do see it, kind of thing. What did y'all think of that?
I mean, I think the moral is clearly there.
Yes.
I mean, it's as plain as the glasses on my face.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
There's no hidden, like, it's not a cipher. It's not a puzzle that we have to figure out. It's like, bam, it's right there.
It's in the title. Yeah, it's in the title.
You see you're like, okay, is it gonna happen right now? Nope. Okay, so it's gonna happen now. Okay, so it's gonna happen now. and you know it's coming. You
Mhm.
know it's coming, and then it happens, and you're like, oh yeah, well, he tried to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it does happen, it's just so, nicely Poe with, him jumping over or trying to jump over the turnstile and, the devil catching the head in his apron, which the narrator thought that was very odd that he's wearing an apron, which I think I would too if I'm coming up, on a covered bridge and there's this little man with an apron on over his suit. And it's like, hold on a second. Let's see. Will also says, I like to think that pretty much all tales have morals, some more nuanced than others. The question is, at one point, does an obvious moral cross the line into preachiness? Oh, that's a good question.
Sometimes it does.
Yeah.
And some people still don't get it. Just saying.
Yeah.
True. And that is in the case of this character, because clearly the narrator, unnamed yet again, is going on and on about, do that, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that, know, and he keeps trying, and he's like, nah, I'm gonna, I do this, I do that, and I can do that, and I'll bet the devil in my head, and it's like, okay.
But
yeah.
And in some ways, I think that's also another indication that when you try to preach to someone and try to tell them the things and not to do certain things, that it comes down to where most people, and I've had this happen, I would tell it to my kids in class, that you just have to let people find out for themselves. And sometimes you pray that it doesn't go awry, but at the same time, some people just have to learn by, accepting the consequences of their actions, knowing that, Will, go ahead.
I'm sorry. My Zoom cut off when you guys were reacting to my comment, so I'm just trying to play a little bit of catch up here.
Oh no! I thought you went out and you got it, like you came right back in.
Yeah.
And so, what was the last thing you heard? What was the last thing you heard?
Was it Jeanie talking about people finding out for themselves? Just the last 20 seconds. Before I raised my hand.
So you missed what Virginia said. So.
Oh, Virginia said it.
Yeah, no, I said that, but what Virginia said before that, what I was talking about, you missed probably.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you said, Virginia?
Good question.
You had to do the whole thing over again.
My name again.
We're just saying about how preachy he was, but he kept saying like, stop doing that, stop doing,
yeah.
But and you do, it happens, he kept trying to say it and he, damn it, just kept ignoring him. And then of course, there you go. So in some places that did get preachy, but I think it's because, and this is just my interpretation of it, he really cared for damn it. Damn it, I care for you. I'm sorry. I've been wanting to do that all day.
Yes. Well, to me, they were the total opposites attract as friends. I mean, he was the narrator was the moral upright, you shouldn't be doing this. You're going to regret it. And damn it was all the evil things, and that's why the transcendentalists wouldn't pay for his funeral, because he was an evildoer seen as that. So, I think it's the perfect storm of, I'm sure that the narrator wanted to say, I told you so.
Yeah.
To his suspended body with no head that lived for a couple days.
Well, I mean, in some ways, he kind of did get his last word in, because damn it, without his head, it took him to the homeopathics, and then he still, he even says he still refused anything they tried to do. And I'm thinking, well, it's kind of hard to put anybody if they don't have a head, but okay. But at the same instance, it's like even with his head cut off and losing the bet, he still refused to accept that what happened. And That also goes to the whole point that some people, even if you do try to teach them morals and you do get a little preachy, people still don't get it. It just goes right over their head, pun intended. Okay. But but I also think in this story especially, it gives me, okay, I'm going to throw this in. The little devil and the angel that always sits on the shoulders in the cartoons,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because that's what I felt with Dammit and his narrator friend.
Yeah.
Like one was the angel, one was the devil, and then you had Mr. Lord who was lording over them and waiting to come in and say, all right, now put up or shut up. And that's, you know, that's what the I got from there. It was time, you know, it's time, put up or shut up, buddy boy.
Yeah.
So I did get he did get long-winded at the very beginning, especially when he was writing in French and all that. And I'm going, really? Really?
It reminded me of The Premature Burial. Both of them start out more like one of his nonfiction opinion pieces, articles, and then suddenly turns into a plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, you kind of wonder what he was. Was that the whole intention when he wrote like both of these tales? Did he have that in mind, or did it kind of evolve into fiction? You know, you kind of wonder.
Well, in some instances, I think he starts out with his snootiness. I like to call it that, because it's just he's trying to let off steam, and by showing that, you know, he might have been mad at somebody, or he's really frustrated about something, and he's just wanting to, you know, really show that he is smart, that he does have, you know, this level that, and then it goes into the story. So it's like part of it, I think, is his own demons coming out at the very beginning. Yeah, Will says going into fiction to perhaps avoid confrontations with real enemies. I mean, in some ways, that's the best way to avoid conflict, is to get it out on paper and then let it go. So
some people dance it out. Eddie wrote it out.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, and I think about the other art forms that people use their emotions to get out on canvas and paper and everything. What were you going to say, Dr. Jeff?
Yeah, William Somerset Maugham was like that too. He said that his catharsis, his therapy was writing it out. That's why he wrote Of Human Bondage. He said, you know, if you have to expel something or purge something from your psyche and from your problems, write it all out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
That
Yeah, I mean,
that makes perfect sense. Yeah, because I mean, I think people even journal, you know, to get their feelings out, their emotions of whatever is working on themselves. Or working
like Virginia said, she dances it out. Some people use exercise. Some people
when I'm
use,
allowed.
when you're allowed, when you're caught, you know, hurting yourself. You know, some people use their art forms, whether it be photography or painting or, you know, writing, sewing even. So, you know, all those different avenues are there. That and sometimes that's what I get when I read some of Poe's, when he
love the background.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love his background too.
Van Gogh.
Yeah, the Van Gogh. Yes, the Van Gogh.
Yeah, speaking of Van Gogh working his mental challenges out. Definitely.
Yeah.
Sure.
That image is actually from a Poe website.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I Googled Never Bet the Devil Your Head, and this is like image number 2 on Google search images.
Okay.
I forget the exact website, but
was it eapo.org maybe?
Let me check.
I'm kind of curious.
It's not Van Gogh, it's just someone painting like him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wow. Yeah, because it looks like Van Gogh. It does.
It kind of does, yeah.
Yeah, it's an awesome picture.
Oh, it's from the Poe Museum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah, it is. It's really nice.
And Carmen, what does your calendar say? The Spita?
The spectacles, there's a glare from the light. My husband right now is sitting reading on what we call the veranda. It's our screened in porch. And so there's a light coming in through. I've got big like picture windows where this is like my studio, I guess you could say. I call it my craft study. And so it's over here on the light is giving it a glare, but yeah, this is from the Poe Museum. They do a cat calendar every year with Pluto and
Edgar.
Edgar, thank you. Of the Poe Museum cats who live on property or visit on property every day. And so they do photoshopped images of them with all of Poe's stories and poems. And I get it every year. And Jeanie gets one too as a Christmas gift from our cats. We give it from cats to cats.
Yeah. It's from her cats to my cats for Christmas.
Yes. Yeah, but it's the spectacles. Yeah, which I'm sure we will read down the road. It's a good one.
I love that one.
You like that one, Holly? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite. I love the bizarreness of it. It's great.
Well, Carmen and I were discussing, especially at the end, about the covered bridge, how there was a lot of alluding to like Washington Irving's Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman, and everything about the bridge and about the different things, and we're like, well, because it was written when he was like, what we say, Carmen, 11?
Around 11. It came, he published it in 1820. And so I found a couple articles, and for whatever reason, I thought I bookmarked them on my computer. Then I checked my phone and I can't find it. I'm going to have to dig. But someone had written an article comparing and looking at some of those things like the covered bridge, just being in the woods, the devil walking out is reminiscent of the Headless Horseman. And it's like, now Poe didn't steal the story at all because it's very different, but those elements probably inspired him, possibly. I mean, and I think there's some really nice connections. And, kind of with, the start of spooky season, I was like, it makes this story really nice to talk about right now, even though it's really not a horror story. It's really like political satire is what Jeanie and I were talking about when you really get right down to it.
And farce,
Yes.
He can still reason and resist even after his head is gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was bizarre. That was so bizarre.
I want to learn that trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I know that when the brain dies, it lives for, it's still within like 15 seconds, according to neuroscience, that the brain still processes for 15 seconds after death. And we all know that never mind what you do to the body, once the body dies, the whole system, the muscles and everything, once the blood is like leaking out, will still contract and still happen. That's where the whole zombie thing comes from, especially when they sit up, and boy howdy, that'll scare the crap out of you. But the one
Jeanie,
thing
you act like you've dealt with that.
Not personally, but when I was in the criminology early years ago, and we went to the body farm in Knoxville at UT, I got to experience some very interesting things.
Oh, cool.
But thankfully, none that actually stood up and looked at me. So that was good. But there was still some very odd things happening. But also the one thing that I like is when I was rereading it, all I could think about at the end when the hum came in and they were jumping the turnstile, what popped into my head was the Robert Johnson song, The Crossroads.
Yes.
Where the soul and everything. Because I'm like, this right here is what it reminds me of, because he's jumping over the turnstile and the devil is there waiting and saying, hey, come on, show me what you got, but be ready, be prepared to give up what you lose which he bet bet the devil his head.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like whenever you make a deal with the devil and he had to pay, you got Charlie Daniels, the golden fiddle and all that wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Robert Johnson, I love him too. He's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, he's amazing. And my husband and I just watched that movie Crossroads because he had never seen it.
Did you?
And yes, and I had seen it years before, but we had just gone to see Steve Vai here in Nashville, who's the devil's musician in that movie.
Mhm.
And so I was like, I cannot believe you have not seen this movie as much as you love music. So we sat down one night and watched it, and he loved it. And
Nice.
Jeanie, you're right. This does remind me of that now that you say that.
Yeah, I mean, and even that just goes to show that things they may not have been, specifically influenced by this, story, but at the same time, you can find influences throughout a lot of things, whether it be cartoons, like I said, the Bugs Bunny always comes to mind with the little devil and the little, angel. And although not a lot of kids today get to enjoy the nuances of Bugs Bunny anymore.
That's true. Well,
And
a TV show that I have not watched yet, but I've heard it is fantastic, is Good Omens. That reminds me of the devil and the angel. Virginia, have you seen it?
Yes. It's one of my favorite books.
Okay.
I mean, Eddie aside, Damon is like, I've met the man a billion times, and he remembers me, which is crazy to think, because I'm like, you meet a million people. How in the world do you remember me? But it's just, you can't really see it because it's on the other side of the shelf, but it's like, I've got some of my Eddie stuff down here because most of it's up in my office, which I haven't finished yet. But like, I've got like a ton of my Gaiman stuff, like all over here, my Terry Pratchett stuff. So it's stuff that I grew up with. But that show, like, I totally hear you. I see it. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I started watching it because David Tennant, of course, and Martin Sheen, two of my favorites.
Oh my gosh.
But some of the story kind of just got a little old in my book, and a little too, it just kind of like, well, okay. I was like, nothing I haven't kind of
read the book. Read the book.
That's usually the problem, is I always find the books better than I find anything else.
Yeah. Oh, I do too, usually.
Yeah. There's been very few times I've enjoyed anything that was made from a book. Psycho is one of the things that I can absolutely say that the movie stood up and to the test of the book, even though it wasn't verbatim, it still kind of hit to the mark.
Yeah.
And one of my biggest of all time, The Outsiders.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, and it just blows my mind that when I found out that S.E. Hinton was a woman, I mean, even in the early 70s, she was posting with an abbreviation, so it would be better, what was the word? Received?
Better received
by the audience if it was perceived to be written by a man, considering it was all about boys and the the living in those days in the 50s, 60s with the gangs, and especially it being in Oklahoma, which was Tulsa, Oklahoma, which you're like, wow, really? You would think that it would be more of Los Angeles or New York or Miami or something that you would find this, but Tulsa, Oklahoma? Okay.
Yeah. I just visited Tulsa. My youngest stepdaughter's there, and it's a really cool place. I did get to go to the Outsider's house and take a tour. It is really cool. And two of the guys that were extras were sitting on the porch greeting us when we got there. And then they had part of the movie showing when you go into the living room, and one of those guys came in and he goes, "I'm right there." And he looked the same, but just a little bit older. It was really neat. And they live in the neighborhood. It was really neat. I would say we've bird walked, Jeanie, but in a good
I
way.
don't know what you're talking about. I was right on. I was right on the wire where I was going. I don't know where you went, but I'm just saying.
It's all good. I know you. This was your plan. Your plot to take over the Poe world. But no, Will added about Robert Johnson. Even better than his guitar playing is his storytelling. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, that's what made jazz and blues the greatest, in my opinion, is because it's all about digging deep and telling that story. And you know that theirs had morals, because if we're going back to talking about Poe and the moral of a story, the blues and the jazz was all about telling that moral to the story, especially when you get the good old strange fruit?
Strange Fruit.
Billie Holiday.
Yes.
You know, how she was basically threatened with her life not to do that song, and it's all about, you know, the hangings and all the things that were going on. And it's like, you know, sometimes you got to step out, you got to tell that story, you got to get that moral out there. And even if you get preachy and beat a dead horse, as my mom used to tell me, you know, you got to get it, somebody's going to get it in their head somewhere. And it may not turn out the way you want it, but that moral's got to be heard. And just like this one, you know, damn it, never got it. Okay. You know, damn it, lost his head. And that could be, it was both literally, but you think about it figuratively. He lost his head. He got a little too big for his britches, as my mama used to say too. And probably needed more than a southpaw to swipe him. You know, I mean, he was gambling when he was 6 months old, so come on.
That's true.
And he was born from the beginning.
Yeah, and then the mustache. Like, where in the world, dude? Really?
I know.
Why, you know, it was just where'd you come from that? Woo, okay.
One of the things that I was thinking too, kind of connecting back to the transcendentalist with what we're talking about with when he lost his head, was that the devil, you know, was like, you know, you're going to transcend, you know, above the turnstile, and just, you know, again, that nod or knock at transcendentalism. But it was like, to me, that was kind of a metaphor for Poe basically saying, if you fall into the world of transcendentalism, you're going to lose your mind. I kind of felt like that was, you know, Jeff, did you get that too? Yeah. And kind of like, don't fall into that path, because that's what's going to happen, and you'll never come back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's true. One thing I got was Poe insulting the pigeon? Because when he was talking,
oh yeah,
like, dude, stop insulting the poor pigeon. You know, come on.
Now, I was going to say, now you're mentioning pigeons with that. It's like, you know, at the end of Nikola Tesla's life, he was obsessed with a pigeon. And so we have one scientist out there that loves pigeons.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm bird walking now. I'm bird walking now. And that was very much pun intended. Yes. All right. Other thoughts on the story? Anything else you guys thought of or liked, didn't like?
Well, have you all seen the 1968 movie Spirits of the Dead?
I have not yet, and you had told me about it not that long ago, and Jeanie and I are planning to watch it. We just haven't had a chance.
Yes, it's very strange, but very good. A trilogy of Poe stories, directed by three different directors: Roger Vadim, who was married to Jane Fonda at the time, and she's in his segment, and Louis Malle and Federico Fellini directs the Toby Dammit segment, which is my least favorite of the three, because it's a Fellini movie, but it's not really the Poe story. It takes place in the then present time of the swinging 60s, and the character is an alcoholic movie star, and he's gotten a brand new sports car, and he keeps seeing not the little man, but a young girl. That's the form that the devil or the specter takes in that movie. And then at the end, he's racing his sports car and, goes over a bridge that's still under construction or something, and his head is taken off. So the other two segments are better. The best one, I think, is the William Wilson segment, and then the other one with Jane Fonda is the based on the Metzinger Stein, the story about the brother and sister and the horse.
Yes, that's a good one.
It's a very weird movie, but very interesting. The first two are period pieces. I kind of like those better. They're more in line with the Roger Corman Poe movies.
Okay.
But then Toby Dammit is very contemporary and modern, but it's worth taking a look at sometime. Spirits of the Dead.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's
we just looked it up over here. It looks cool.
Yeah, I forgot that was the title of it. And I'm like, why did they use a title of a poem? Interesting.
Is the poem like read at the beginning, or a line from the poem at the beginning?
I think so. I believe there is some sort of narration that in the American version, I believe Vincent Price did a voiceover.
Okay.
Oh.
But in the European version, he is not associated with the movie at all.
Okay.
Huh.
That's interesting.
I may be wrong, but
yeah, well,
I may be mixing that up with the Conqueror Worm, Witchfinder General, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Will says it made me think of The Devil and Daniel Webster. Yeah. Very much so. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Micah said, my favorite Tom Lehrer song, Poisoning Pigeons in the Park. That's awesome. And then, let's see, Will also said, my favorite is We'll All Be Together When We Go. Okay. There was something else I had thought of, and it just escaped my brain when we were talking about that. Kind of with what we were talking about, with Poe going on about every tale should have a moral, do you feel like many of his stories didn't have morals, or like, is this one of the few? Because I was trying to sit here and think about that. That was popped in my head while we were talking. What do y'all think?
I think you can make for me personally, I can make a moral out of anything. I mean, so for me, it's like, it depends, like, how deep do you want to dig? I mean, it can even be like not even a moral, like a lesson, like, like telltale heart. You're crap together, so you don't rat yourself out. You know what I mean? Like, it could be something, like, or it could be like more heartfelt.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lesson to be learned in Hot Frog. There's a lesson to be learned in The Mask of Red Death. There's a lesson to be learned. I mean, there's, you name it, you can find a lesson in
I agree
a lot
with
of the stories.
Yeah, I totally agree with y'all. And so it just, I don't know, I guess it was kind of interesting just reading what I read about that the critics really didn't feel like he was doing that, and I just feel like, yes, you can. And I actually just finished teaching narrative writing to my freshmen, and that's the one thing, again, the state, the way they score it, I teach more than just we have to teach to the test, but because I want them to be good writers. But the one thing that we've focused on a whole lot is you got to have a reflection, which goes back to theme, and it goes back to what lesson are you learning from this. And so I haven't gotten to read their essays because they just finished them. They had to read 2 passages about Nellie Bly and write on the perspective of Nellie Bly in one day of traveling. And so just from some of the ones I've just looked at periodically, they look like they've been very creative. So it's going to be fun to look at these. But Will said, I'm suddenly curious what the moral to the Haunted Palace was.
Oh.
Interesting.
I'll get back to you on that. However, I do feel that I feel like if this tale came off preachy, it's because he had so many other stories that did have a lesson in it that wasn't spelled out for you. It wasn't like, bam, in your face, this is the lesson. You know, it was something that as you're reading it, you're like, oh,
yeah.
Oh, we don't want to do that. You know, we definitely don't want it. No, that's not a good way to behave. No, that's something you don't want to do. You know, like, it's not.
You also have to, sorry, go ahead, Virginia.
No, I was just going to say, it's not so spelled out that, sorry, I had someone trying to call me and I had to.
Oh, it's okay. It's all right.
But, you know, it just wasn't so spelled out that I just feel like probably a lot of people, including his peers or his reviewers, completely missed the point.
I think you're right.
Completely missed it.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that also you have to understand, we being so different people with our life and what we grew up with, how we live, what we think, some of us may find some things in the stories that others may not. I mean, most of you have been, unfortunately, on the receiving end of my wackiness when I can see things in certain areas that, you know, most people are like, what? You know, and I've always been that way because even my own family didn't know how to talk to me. It was that's because I was so different and so on, I don't know, the weirdness scale, I guess you could say. But at the same time, what one person's moral may not fit with someone else's. They may not need that lesson, so they may see something else. Oh, thanks, Will.
I agree.
I love your weirdness, Jeanie.
Yes, Jeanie, we're going to invent a weirdness scale just for you.
Well, I would still blow it because nobody would never meet my level of weirdness, but okay. We'll just go with that. But yeah, I mean, that's the way, even with like the Haunted Palace, like one of my favorite, and Carmen knows this, my favorite of Edgar Allan Poe is his poem El Dorado.
Yeah, she loves it.
It is one, because it's always resonated in me, because I don't think that finding a pot of gold or finding the gold is what the end is going to be of, you know, my search to make me happy. Because it doesn't have to be a materialistic thing. Like my goal could be peace, could be just a set of, yes, Will, I do remember that now that you said it. Yeah, you know, everybody is searching and reaching for something, whether, you know, it be a materialistic part, whether it be spiritual, whether it be transcendental, we'll go that far. But it's to me, each story hits the person that's reading it in a different way, and that's the one thing that Poe does, is he leaves a lot for his readers to just take what he's given them and do with it what it fits right for them, in my opinion. So
I think so too. And I think, Jeff, you were about to say something.
Oh, well, a literary theory is called the reader response theory. And it says that we readers or of the story or the play or viewers of the movie or whatever sort of shape the story around our background and our experiences, and as Jeanie said, we get something different out of it than somebody else does, because it plays on our emotions and our experiences, and we can identify with this part. Oh, she's like, this character is like me, or he did something that I would never do, or that I did. And so we sort of put ourselves into the action of the story.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That really is, because sometimes, like when I'm reading it, I almost like think of myself as the narrator in a way, just because it is first person perspective. But at the same time, yeah, if there's something that I'm not like quite sure about, I'm like, oh, I don't think I would have done that. But then I think, what would I do differently? But I love that everybody does have those different perspectives. And sometimes we all agree on certain things, or we see the same things. But to me, we learn so much from each other, especially in our group, of what these stories, what everybody thinks they mean, and, you know, what Poe's intentions were, and that kind of thing. So it's really cool.
Yeah. Right. Oh, sorry. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because it's been a while and I'm not sure where I read this from. But didn't Edgar Allan Poe also say that why can't a story just be a story for the sake of being a story? That, you know, that doesn't always need to necessarily have a moral for it to be a good story? Or am I crazy? Am I making this up?
I think he did say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I kind of always keep that, since I do the children's books, I always kind of think that in the back of my head, like, people want morals, but like, whatever just happened to like a cute story for the sake of it being a cute story, I'm always like, Edgar Allan Poe said it was okay, but I'm like, I don't know where it's actually from that he said it, but I felt like I read it somewhere.
No, Holly, I think you make a really good point. Kind of like, I forget who this quote is from, but art for the sake of art.
Yes,
you
art
know,
for art.
Yeah.
Oscar Wilde
Thank
believed
you.
that.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, Holly, I think that's a very good point. And sometimes we do get wrapped up in what's the hidden meaning, you know, because I really want to search for cryptograms within some of his works, because I think they're embedded. We just haven't found them all yet. That's just my conspiracy theory.
Probably not.
Yeah. But yeah.
And some writers like Faulkner and Steinbeck have commented that people read too much into my stories. People dig things out of my stories that I wasn't thinking about or didn't put in there, at least consciously.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys saw Micah's comment about the Cask of Amontillato's lesson. Always keep a jackhammer in your back pocket, or at least a cell phone with good signal. That is so true.
No, in that instance, it's like, turn around, stupid. Okay. That's all I could do in that story. Just keep saying, turn around, stupid. Turn around.
Yes.
You know, I mean, he's giving you an out. Turn around. But it just, But, I mean, you're right. Sometimes a story is just a story. However, that story is just a story could just be for the writer. It doesn't necessarily have to be for the reader.
That is true.
You know, and that's pretty much what it is. It's like, you know, Dr. Jeff was talking about the dramatic irony. You know, when a person is watching a play on stage, what someone, you know, is getting from that could be different than what someone else is. And like, what's going on stage is a different type of irony than what's going on in the audience. So those are just the literature or the literary aspects of any type of work, whether it be song, poem, story, you know, storyteller, anything, even in a picture, whether it be a photographer or it could be a painter. A picture is just a picture. They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Sometimes a picture is just a picture. If it's a white wall, it's just a white wall. If it's a black canvas, it's a black canvas. You know, but it's all about the eye of the beholder, in my opinion. So,
the
eye of the creator.
There are no wrong answers in literature, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In the art world, there is no wrong answer.
Yeah, I have to tell my students all the time because it's hard to sometimes get them to like talk to each other or talk to me when we're reading things. And I'm like, there are no wrong answers here. You can disagree with me, and I'm okay with that. I'm not going to think bad of you because we don't have the same opinion. I'm learning from you as much as you're learning from me. And it's I think it's hard for people to think about it like that because especially if it's teacher to student, it's like, oh, we got to impress the teacher. But it's just, yeah. Well, any other? Go ahead, Jeanie.
No, I was just going to say that's just life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you have to accept it in your own world.
Yeah. All right. So any last thoughts? We're kind of getting down to our time. Any last thoughts on this story? I think everybody liked it. Just from the comments. It's a good one.
My last comment that I will make, and this will go back to the wretched story that I just don't even want to say, but Words with a Mummy.
Oh.
When he was bringing up the mustache, the baby wearing a mustache, I'm thinking, dude, are we going back to Words with a Mummy where you come up with this whole outfit? He's got a monocle and sideburns, and you just have handy. I got a little upset because I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
But he got away from that quickly, so I was like, all right.
Yeah. Will says, to be honest, I much better enjoyed our discussion and analysis of it than I did the actual story. Okay, cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed talking about this. And I mean, Jeanie and I always talk about it a little bit before we talk to you guys. And yeah, and we had a good talk about it as well. So next month, our Gothic guest is actually with us tonight. It's going to be Micah.
Hi, Micah.
And so he's going to be our Gothic guest, and we are going to be reading the poem Alone and talking about that poem. And so I think that's a great one for October, just thinking about spookiness and what that poem means to what we think it means to Poe and analyzing it. So we always like to throw in a poem here and there. And yeah, so I'm excited about it. And and then Micah had sent me a video of him. He is a magician, and where he is reciting the Raven. I'm not going to give some details away, but I'm hoping we're going to get to show it on Poe Unplugged. And I think you guys will absolutely love it. It is amazing. So even though we're not going to read the Raven, talk about it because we've already done that, but we wanted to share this because Micah is amazing in this. So, and Micah's just amazing. And he says, and you can repeat the date and time so I have it right. Yes, I'm about to tell that. So because Halloween is on a Tuesday, we know everybody is going to be doing either, trick-or-treating, giving out candy, whatever you're doing on Halloween. I will be returning from New Orleans that night. And
take me with you.
Oh, come on. We're celebrating a friend's birthday that weekend. He's turning 50. But so anyway, so Poe Unplugged is not the last Tuesday of October. It's going to be October 24th, Tuesday still, but just 1 week earlier, just so everybody has their Halloween festivities, on their own. And then again, Alone, and then 7 p.m., Central Standard Time, just like we always do. And so, and then I think we already told you in November, we're going to read King Pest, and where is he at? And so we're going to have a little visitor, Andrew Jackson, coming your way. And then December, Jeanie, have we decided December yet?
Nope.
Okay, no, but here's what I want to know. You guys are with us every month, and we love you so much for supporting us. And I look forward to these discussions so much. It makes my night when we get to talk. So we want to hear, and if you'd rather like send us an email, we want to know going forward for December onward, for the rest of season 3, what do you guys want to read? Because we've got thoughts. I would love to do like a series where we do 3 months in a row, or maybe break it up, of like the Dupin mysteries, more of the ladies of Morella and Berenice and that kind of thing, or more poems. Like, we want to hear from you. What do you want to read and talk about? So
yeah, and maybe even, and here's a thought, you can bring it in on your own and like start the discussion and say why you chose that, and give us, you be the spotlight head for that Poe Unplugged.
That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That would be awesome.
Some Words of the Mummy have a sequel. Oh, wonderful. Yes, that would make everyone happy.
Jeannie, I think you should write the sequel.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, I've already got it. It'll be 2 words. The end. Okay. Right there. I wrote it for you right there. The end.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So does anybody have any thoughts right now, or would you rather just email us and let us know?
Yeah, think on it. They want to think on it. Thunk on it, whatever.
Okay.
So yeah, because you can get a hold of us. Don't worry.
Oh yeah.
Send us your thoughts, opinions, and as long as it's not something that we've already covered at least twice.
Oh yeah.
Like The Raven, Annabelle Lee, those kinds of things.
Yeah. And just to let y'all know, the weekend of October 7th, we will be at the Poe Fest, and Holly in Virginia will be there too. And so if you're in the Baltimore area, definitely come out to the festival. And Jeff, I hate that we're going to have to miss the Hootenanny here. I'm hoping that'll fall on a different weekend one year. So, but so we're excited about that. And then next Tuesday, October 3rd, from 12:30 to 8 Eastern Standard Time, Jeannie and I are hosting the Kickstarter event. We're calling it
Launch Party
for the next Love Letters to Poe anthology. I don't have my book with me. Sarah Corporal Smith is the editor publisher, and it's a collection. It's an anthology collection of other writers who have written Poe stories and poems. The next one is going to be themed Telltale Heart. It's Tales Torn from the Heart is the title. And she's opening up, I think, Jeannie, it's on October 3rd. That day she's opening up for submission, so anybody can submit poetry or short stories. I've just finished the second one, Houses of Usher. I read the first one. Jeannie's got the first book. But they're amazing. I mean, some of the stories and poems are written so much like Poe. It's eerie in a good way. So, but we're having all kinds of, like, that day, Jeannie and I will be live on YouTube the entire day, interviewing people. We're having Poe trivia. There's going to be some raffles for some online copies of authors' books. Let's see. There's a tarot panel. There's Jason Markiewicz. Yeah, Poe movies. We're probably going to show the Telltale Heart. They're short. And Jason Markiewicz is going to do a dramatic reading of the Telltale Heart towards the end of the day. Chris Sempner, who is the curator at the Poe Museum in Richmond, is also going to be on with us as well. So it is a full day of Poe and Telltale Heart, and it's going to be fun. So definitely jump on if you can.
Yep. So it'll be a blast. So, and once more, we love that you guys are joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Yes.
Thank you.
Really quick, Jeannie, when's the new content coming out, or is it out already with your what was it called? Your time traveling.
Time talks with Jeanie.
Oh yes.
The first one should be posted in all. Well, I was wanting to get it this weekend, but barring some medical reasons, I'll probably have it the middle of October.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep,
Yes.
and it'll be it's going to be me. What can I say? It's me.
Her chair is waiting.
Yes, and my Poe cutout is waiting. So Poe and I will have our time talk.
Yes, and we began Words with Wednesday, and because life has been really crazy at school here lately, I've had a lot of evening events. I had to postpone for a couple weeks. So this week we will have another Words with Wednesday if you haven't watched our little shorts on that. So
oh no, I missed that. Okay.
Yeah, the first one was 10-10 that to me was I had to do that one first. I'll leave it a secret as to what the next one is.
I vote for
I shall give no hints, nevermore.
Yeah. Procrastination is still my word for Wednesday, but okay. All right. Well, I think we can stick another pin in our Poe Unplugged. Just make sure it's not electrical. Just saying.
Oh my goodness.
All
right. Thanks, guys. It's been awesome. See you next month.
Thank you.
Bye now,
everybody.
Bye, everybody.